This week on the audio podcast, episode 74, Breaking the Sound Barrier, we have a summary of news from Twitter from Tuesday. We look at a whole load of special offers, there's discounts on loads of things, and there's plunder as always. There's no Adam Yanch, but Scott and Sam are here on this week's audio podcast. There we go. I don't feel that was great, but I feel it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Oh, awesome stuff. Well, we should say goodbye to those people watching the stream. Goodbye, people watching the stream.
Goodbye.
And I will end this broadcast. This is episode 74, Breaking the Sound Barrier of the audio podcast. I'm Scott Hewitt this week. I'm only joined by
Samuel Freeman. Hello.
Hello. Adam of the Yanch has moved house and is without internet, as he will be for probably a month or whatever it is until they reconnect the house that they probably just disconnected. Which is always a nice moment, isn't it? In the feel of that. But
it is.
Adam is not here, but nonetheless we can continue on with the audio podcast. Shall we get straight into the news of what could be a brief show? If there's ever going to be a brief audio podcast, this would be the one that could be brief. Let's see if it is.
Let's see. We've said it'll be brief lots of times before, and then it's not been, but let's go for it. So IK Multimedia have 33% off their slash pedals for amplitude on the iPhone and iPad. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can get the slash boost, delay, gate, octablue, wide distortion, and X chorus, and the 33% discount is good until October the 25th.
Cool.
And you can find the link to the place with more details about it at the audiopodcast.co.uk. Cool.
That makes it €1.59 for these things, or $1.99, which seems pretty cheap for a thing. But yeah, let's not speculate on whether or not you need to have some kind of way of getting your guitar in there as well, which is a hardware. Anyway.
Talking about hardware, an exciting new world is coming upon us slowly here of 3D printing, and Create Digital Music have a great article considering the future of 3D printing for instruments.
Yep, there's a lot of this going on. This is unrelated. I don't think it was mentioned here, but I saw today on my Google Plus feed that you can now get steel 3D printers printing 3D metal things for even more fine detail and stuff. It's kind of a tangent to what you're talking about, but 3D printing is cool and available.
That's very cool. A bit of me, we're in a real rush tonight, guys. I'm sorry, but a bit of me wanted to relate back to the fact that there is actually now a conversation about the reintroduction of DRM systems into 3D printing systems due to the fact that obviously we'll be able to 3D print anything pretty soon. So why would you not 3D print something, And they're starting to talk about how they can maybe restrict the 3D printing, like as a return to the DRM systems. I'm trying to think where was it Gizmodo or Wired or something like that I read that from, I think. But I just wanted to mention that because while the future is rosy, the future is 3D printing, it strikes me that there is maybe a kind of a negative, there's kind of resistive force to this kind of technological changes as always, and it's time to maybe just be ready to, just to start thinking about it. Do we want to defend these kind of privileges or not? Let's go. Hey, on another unrelated item, I guess, but Core Dr. Roy has a new story out, has a new novel out, young children's novel out, which he is kind of touring at the moment, and it actually talks about the consequences of kind of being kicked off the internet for piracy and how that affects people. So, hey, I just making a random. I just had a brain trip there. It's just like
that's
the whole collection of things
definitely not in the show notes.
No.
Nope. The show notes are at theaudiopodcast.co.uk, and this is /show/74. Wow, show 74. What's next in the news? We've got 3D printing there. People can read about it. I think, yeah, it's definitely some cool stuff there. Good examples, but
more discounts.
Discounts.
Slate are offering a 20% discount on products for the month of October. There you go. The thing I love the most about this is the way that the only actual quantifiable information I could find about it was this was a kind of image from Flickr, and I've got my suspicions it's gone.
No, well, the image might have gone, but I found because you also linked to Pro Tool. I've lost it in my
Pro
tags.
Tooler blog, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a comment on there from somebody which might be why it was gone. Sorry, I'm having an absolute losing.
No, the pick is there. So 20% off Slate Digital in October, and I found this Flickr pick, which had the, it's not Flickr, it's Twitter, a pic attached to a Twitter post which has the details of it. So I linked to that because I couldn't actually find a kind of clean, this is the promotion we're running page actually on their site themselves. So I did manage to get it confirmed that the offer was running, but that was all I really got confirmed. So yeah.
Yep, you linked. So on Pro Tool, they've got the sound advice that unless you're short on cash to stay away, unless you're anyway, whatever. A reply to the post on Pro Tool blog, presumably from someone at Slate, says that there was a mistake when they put on Facebook that all their products are 20% off, because that's not true. But they've listed what is. So the VCC, that's the virtual console collection, that's now $199 instead of $249, etc. Same for the virtual tape machine and the mastering effects and some other stuff is at other prices. So there is a list posted as a comment on the Pro Tool blog entry that you linked to. Shall we move on?
Yes, Sam. Where should we move on to next?
I don't know, because all my tabs have all gone into the wrong order, so I have to go back to the show notes, which tells me that the next thing is Tuesday on Twitter at the Audio Podcast.
So I have to credit yourself, I think, Sam, for beginning this, because many moons ago, I'd even link to it. Many moons ago, you decided to spend a portion of the Tuesday logged in on the Audio Podcast Twitter account. And I thought, hey, it'd be interesting to do that, because we kind of pay attention to it in a, oh, has anybody checked it recently kind of way. So it's good for us to look at it every now and again. So I did that, and I thought I would just post the highlights of, my time logged in as the Audio Podcast. So hence I did. A couple of bits, a minor release by Steinberg of CMC for Windows users. There you go. An update of Live Professor, which is is designed for live use. It allows you to build kind of mix boards and kind of mix boards with preset settings out of soft effects, which I didn't know about, actually, but that was cool.
It says here on the KPR page that the limits on the free version have been raised a bit along with this update. So
that's very cool. Let's skip a Tuesday on Twitter item just for 1 second here and go to the expensive guitar sale. So it always amazes me that things like this can ever be worth this much money, but nonetheless, apparently somebody out there they expect somebody would pay a lot of money for a 1959 left-handed Les Paul Burst. One of only two known. Yeah, no.
$125,000.
Imagine, yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? I'm saying, what would you? I don't know what. Yeah, you could probably get one made for that price and have it like new and exactly as you wanted, and have it sound as you want it to. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I think people who spend that much money on those kind of things aren't actually buying. You know, I mean, they don't tend to buy them to play them, do they? They tend to buy them to do something else, maybe. I think I wonder. Yeah. What else was the Creative Blue at creative_blue had a little kind of link across to some fader writing as a creative mixing technique, which I thought was worth mentioning. so hence it did. It's actually quite an interesting quite an interesting read.
I've not read it, but is it talking about actually having your hands on and kind of doing mixes real time as a fader writer? That's what it says to me. And
yeah.
That's
exactly it. They're talking about actually writing the controller for the final mixdown rather than having it all kind of automated and hard kind of set the whole way through it. And I guess I'm reminded of the kind of research interests of Dominique Fabot here actually momentarily, where he talks about playing the studio as an instrument and this idea of performing the final mix and responding to what you're hearing and allowing that to inform your kind of your kind of performative gesture in the as a studio production technique, which I think is an interesting topic to consider. So I thought that was kind of nice. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I've probably mentioned like a while ago I was doing some 4-track tape recording, and the only way to do mixdowns with that kind of stuff is, it's all analog. So there's no, when you're mixing down onto a stereo digital thing, as I was, hands on, pushing faders and twiddling the things with little sketchy notes about what's going to happen next, and just running through the track lots of times and practicing it as a piece and making a performance out of it. There's a lot to be said for that in terms of just having fun.
Definitely so. The final one I got there is SoundCloud have set up a license opportunity with Getty, where you can license your original sounds through Getty Images, which I think I got that Tuesday was the day it was released. That was when they announced it. They did the announcement. There was a lot of positive hype about it, but a lot of that positive hype has kind of gone a little bit negative because the actual terms of the contract are possibly are not as are not as great as are not as great as perhaps people in the sound and the kind of audio domain are maybe used to working under. I do a little bit of photography work, and it's very, very similar to the kind of stock photography kind of game, which this kind of reflects back to, which is fair enough. Which is essentially along the idea of you produce something of incredibly high quality, and then it gets used over and over for decades to come, and it's that constant reuse over time is the thing that actually generates the revenue, rather than it being a do something and get paid for it kind of feel, which is the other way of doing that. So I thought that was it's an opportunity if you're involved in SoundCloud. Essentially, I think there's a couple of forms to fill in, and you can essentially kind of switch on to using this system very, very quickly. So that's
and even, people might say, oh, they're taking X%, that seems like too much, blah blah, but they're taking that as a percentage of money that you probably wouldn't otherwise be getting for licensing your monies, your musics. So it really depends how you look at it.
And it is, they are looking for sound and music as well. So there is a big kind of channel out there for, kind of stock music and stuff like that. I'm saying elevators, hold music. We hear all that kind of stuff all the time, don't we? And
yep, advertising music.
It's interesting to compare this against, say, the kind of CC hits. When we talked to John the Nice Guy Spriggs, and we chatted with him about the CC hits strategy of him wanting to find sources of commercial music for people where they didn't have to pay for it because it would be Creative Commons license with commercial use allowed. And it's interesting just to look at how this is two different ways of resolving a problem of how do you get commercial music which you can legally license and use commercially, knowing you're not going to be hunted down by the kind of overly enthusiastic record labels at various points. So
I was reminded of Jamendo, which is a site that has music under Creative Commons licensing, but there's always a link there saying if you want to license this music for commercial use, because it's usually a non-commercial license that you can download it for free under. But there's always the option to click through if you wanted to license it for other purposes. But this is just a purely other purposes thing, so people who are wanting to spend money on music to use in their things are not going to go crawling around SoundCloud, but they might well go somewhere like Getty.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And I guess what a lot of people don't realize is that Getty are handling the kind of not so much the distribution, but the kind of legalities and the legalese of all of those kind of things as well. Because if you were to get a lawyer to write you a contract every time you needed to put one of these things together, I suspect you'd probably feel that the percentage they're taking is actually a very reasonable number in relation to how much it would cost to get a lawyer to write you a contract once, and then to have to repeat that over and over. So it is it's an opportunity. I'm saying our listeners, you can go check it out and see what you think. You can you can have a look at SoundCloud to find out more information about it, or you can get to the link from our website that showed up at theaudiopodcast.co.uk, and you can go from there. So that's kind of cool. Now,
and so that was Tuesday last week, which was the day after Monday when we recorded it. So that's taken us to the end of the week in terms of going back in time for the news.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, Sam, I'm going to pull you on the spot here because at the end of last week we discussed an idea, and then do
Yes,
you remember? You want to
I
say?
do, but I didn't act on it. It's just the circles thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'll introduce you while Sam composes himself for the matter, as they
Oh
say.
no, I can introduce it. I'm okay.
Go
I
for it.
did think about this beforehand.
Go for it.
Um,
I'll
so
enjoy a mince pie.
it's fun when there's three or more of us, and we'd like to be able to open the door to anyone to come into the hangout and join in with the show and like comment on the news and stories. The show notes are online, so everybody can know what's coming up next and such the like. But just having a completely open door is a bit problematic at times. People kind of drop in and kind of play guitar at us, and or are just kind of a bit intrusive, perhaps. I don't know. People. What we would like to have is a circle within Google Plus where we can say these people are kind of past some kind of sanity test, perhaps, or like the people who have contacted us or that we spoke to before, and we can open it up to all those people, and if they happen to be online at the time, they can come in. So a kind of a trusted circle. You see, this is where I start to fall apart a bit, and I'm not composed because I haven't given this any thought beyond the seed of the idea. I don't know what we would call it, but yeah, if you are already following us on Google Plus or whatever, then maybe I don't know. How are we going to do this, Scott? How are we going to make the list of people? I guess we could just start by adding the people that have already been on the show, people that we know personally. But
Yeah, you could write on our wall, or is it called a wall? I presume it's called a wall. You could write on a wall, send us an email, send us something on Twitter, and we can we're start to move you between those groups because the audio podcast page on Google Plus is a kind of is a business page. It's like a product page sort of thing. So we can't actually add people to circles until they've added us to a circle. So you need to add us to a circle, and then once you've added us to a circle, we can add you. So by default, we add everybody into our listener circle. We presume anybody who's added us is listening to us, unless you're a spam. And then from there, we can also, if you let us know, we can kind of elevate you into our kind of, a kind of welcome onto the show kind of thing. So, we're going to do it's going to be alongside our kind of the guests that we have, and we'll still have our kind of regular guest presenters. But it's just to give people the opportunity, because every now and again we get contacted by somebody who's like, oh, how could I get on to the show? How could I get on, or how could I talk about this? And really, we're expressing our opinions, so it's cool to have. We're happy to have other people's opinions as well. We don't want to, be kind of overwhelming everything from the top with our ideas on it. So you should feel free to contact us if you'd like to join in with that, or.
I guess an easy way to do this might be if we post on our Google Plus account as the audio podcast, then people who already have that in a circle can comment to that, reply to it or something, or plus one it or something, some kind of indication through that will let us know that they would like to be in that particular circle. It's like
it would work, but I'm just worried that not everybody would want everybody else to know who they are, because you can see who's commented on a post and who's plus one on a post. So you could do that. Let's do that. But in addition, if you prefer, just send an email through to, just contact us in any way whatsoever, and just say I want to be in the circle. And if you communicate with us with the ability to find you, we'll do it. And if not, I'll reply back along the lines of, if you contact me on Twitter, I'm quite likely to reply back saying, who are you on Google Plus? So please don't be offended by that. It's just awkward.
Or just include that information, yeah.
Yes, or just include that information. There we go. So I guess that would have been, Sam, I will request of you to add that as a other item and whack it in the show notes for this week.
Hey, secret other section, I like it.
The infamous other section returns. And having done that, with the idea of this being a quick show, unintentionally so, but nonetheless a quick one, let's head into the plunder. Arrgh.
Arr. So, iLock is the little USB dongle thing that can store all your licenses for your products, but is kind of means that you've got this physical object that could break, and then all your licenses would go with it. Oh no! What can we do about it, Scott?
Roklocker have a reinforced plastic box for it to sit in.
Hey!
Which will also protect it from coffee and tea tidal waves. That is from the blurb text, but it's an image text rather than text, so I couldn't copy and paste it. So I wasn't gonna type it out. But anyway, it's there. It's a little box that basically you can put your iLock in, and then rather than your iLock being that kind of USB key, precarious bit of plastic and metal, instead it can be this kind of chunky box that you can plug into instead. Which is, is what it is, I guess. I don't like I don't like the whole iLock scheme. I don't like all of these things. I'm like, what happens if you lose your iLock or your iLock breaks or something like that? It's just too much. You know what I mean? For me, I just don't like it. I don't like any of these things, and I actually deliberately avoid working with products which I would have to authenticate using an iLock because I just don't want the risk of it breaking. Are you an iLock user?
I'm not. I'm not. I go for soft licensing things when that's the option. I also don't buy that much stuff. I get buy on free software a lot. But yeah, I mean, the sentiment there is kind of like arguable. Is that your car works on a kind of physical lock device that if you could lose or break.
Yeah. It's a cat.
Yeah, you have a cat. That's far more interesting.
This is Leonard, my cat.
Hello,
One of
Leonard
my
the
cats.
cat.
I have another cat. I have Sheldon as well from some sort of TV show that we couldn't possibly mention. Well, we could. Well, it's obviously what it is. It's obviously what it is. It's a great TV show. Anyway, though, Sam, you were saying you don't have an iLock like me. Yeah, there we go. Maybe. It does amaze me. I've been thinking about resilience for kind of live performance and touring rigs. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and it strikes me that the iLock is a real massive risk in terms of touring any sort of thing. It's like you have it, it can break really easy. You could drop it, just forget it, something like that. Even if you've done that, you've then got it in use. You have to leave it plugged in, otherwise it doesn't work. So then you've got this thing which is worth an awful lot of money just as a USB dongle hanging, plugged into the back of your computer or hanging off the side of your computer. So it's like, do you leave it behind? You know what I mean? Like, I've sound checked, I'm ready to go, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away and have tea or something like that. In many situations, I feel like I can leave my laptop behind. If somebody's watching the stage or something like that, you feel like you can leave your laptop behind. It's a big, obvious thing. It's going to be plugged in with lots of cables. You can even put like a kind of leash lock onto that. But the iLock is just kind of, USB key, which is a complete cinch of a walk up, pick it up, stick it in your pocket, wander off, and that's it gone. And it's, So I think the sales pitch they have for this is right, because if you're touring, if you're using an iLock as part of your day-to-day work, be that live work, be that production work, be that studio work, if somebody nicks it, then you're stuffed. And if it breaks for whatever reason, you're also stuffed. And it was interesting in terms of, you could imagine a situation where you have a problem with the computer, so you go out and buy another one that day and come, you could just go out in the morning, buy a new computer, bring it back, install, ready to go. You probably lose half a day. But if you're based on an iLock system, you're going to have to wait. There isn't a way to quickly turn around. You're going to at least stop work for the day, if not for a couple of days. And from a commercial point of view, that could be disastrous. So, yeah. So you could put it in a Roklocker thing instead, if you wanted to. It does look, it's kind of, yeah.
I came across a case for Raspberry Pi this week, which this reminded me of, in a kind of similar sort of thing.
It does have that feel, actually, doesn't it? It's yeah.
Anyway.
I like it. I think this is, because I'm just going to carry on just for a moment here, but I always used to think that the iLock was a ridiculous kind of physical design, with the bit kind of sticking out. Like, it kind of looks like a padlock, which I guess was maybe they were like, oh, it looks like a padlock, that's cool. Instead, you just got this extra bit of plastic ready to snap off. But
Well,
I think
the bit sticking off means you could thread it through something. You talk about you could have your little security lock onto your laptop. You could have that tethered onto that somehow. You could have it chained through that little hook. Yeah. I wasn't going to mention it because I thought we were trying to be quick, but that is the case.
Well, I kind of understand what you're saying there, but I have my suspicions that you can snap that plastic bit off pretty quick. That little, that little kind of snap, that little kind of ring. The plastic. If you have an iLock, I'm sure you're very happy with it. If you don't have an iLock, you're probably of the opinion that we are. So if you have an iLock, I personally think that this is a great idea for anybody who does actually have an iLock. This, maybe you have your own version of a box for it to sit in. That's fine. It should be noted that the box actually has you can actually plug it in using a USB extension. So, you know, what I mean, it is kind of, you don't have to take it out of its box. You can leave it in its box and USB extension in, USB extension out. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. We should go on to the next one. What's the next item?
We should. The next one is the last one, and this is CalRec. Now, I think you've I think that what you've posted isn't quite right.
Okay.
In the show notes, because you said that this thing was lost, was like discovered but lost and then found. I think it's still. They only posted this today, and I think you misunderstood. So, CalRec, they are based in Hebden Bridge, in fact, and they make broadcast desks and stuff like that, and really kind of high-end mixing stuff. Someone spotted in a TV advert what was it? Was it a Q series console doing its thing in the shot in kind of this advert, which is supposedly based in a radio station or something, but they don't know where it is. They said, "Well, where is that console?" And they're interested to know. So whoever can tell them first where that mixing console is, then they win some stuff like a bottle of beer and a USB stick.
But if you look underneath the YouTube video of the advert, you'll actually see that it has actually been found.
No, Scott. Because if you look up and to the right, there's a picture of the console. Because in the video, you only see the top of it, and they've posted a photograph of the whole console, and that whole console is in Sonica Studios in Clapham.
Oh.
And that's what it says underneath. But the one that they're talking about is still unidentified. The one in the video, they don't know where it is. The one in the photo is in London.
Well, in which case I will. In which case, right now I will edit the notes to illustrate that with a strike through of the incorrect element that I wrote there, and I can only apologize to any audio podcast listeners who were planning on hunting that down and had stopped because of my incorrect posting on this matter. So yeah.
But I hope they find it. This is like a cool little thing. Like somebody must know somebody who worked on that video, and that's how that would be the way to find out who worked on that production.
They will find it out. They will find it. I have full confidence in their ability to find it, which is cool. I think because yeah. So that's nice. I was kind of interested what a breakfast biscuit is, but I don't want to know actually.
I'm more interested in the fact that the bottle of beer you come in is an Armistice light ale, and they had a local brewery brew a light ale with the name of one of their console ranges. I think last year, the Armistice range, they kind of made a smaller, lighter version called Armistice Light, and to celebrate this, they got some beer brewed called Armistice Light Ale.
Fantastic stuff. Absolutely fantastic. We keep saying we keep meaning to contact CalRec actually, because obviously we have proximity to them. Well, we did. Obviously, you don't now that you're in the deep south, Sam. But
well, yeah.
Well, there we go. There we go. So I think that was actually a fairly quick show. We'll find out how long it was in a few moments when we're finished. But it's It's about 30 minutes, if not less. That's pretty exciting. Woo. It's not that we planned to make the show sub 30 minutes. It's just that I knew this was. It wasn't. Actually, I think it was a slow news week, to be honest, because I can normally I find the news items very quickly and have to pick and choose. Whereas this week I cleared through most of my normal sources and was, was like, oh, well, that's about enough. That's not quite enough, but such as it is. Anyway, so this was episode 74 of the audio podcast. Breaking the sound barrier was the show title I said, actually.
That's very topical. We haven't mentioned why, but I'm sure people can figure that out for themselves.
People can figure that out for sure. Awesome stuff. Well, I've been Scott here.
I'm Samuel Freeman.
Goodbye.